I'm Eric with District 82 Pinball with a tech video. I am working on Evel Knievel. So I just picked this game up. And I noticed this when I picked it up. The game did boot and play, but you can see the player 1 display, like that first digit's kind of messed up. And then it's also actually showing the wrong information. When it flips between 0 and high scores, the high score is different and the zeros are not zeros, it's like 4-4. So that's going to be a couple different things that it could be. All right, what's happening is either the display is getting the wrong information from the game, or the correct information is getting there, and then the display itself is translating it into the wrong information. Okay, so let's just verify that. So we can verify this by opening up the coin door and going the test button, and let's just see what it actually shows on the display. Okay, so we open up the coin door and there's a big red test button here, and I'm going to push it once, which should do all the lights, which, yeah, they're working. And now we'll push it again, and now it does the displays. And so now you can see all the displays are cycling through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that player 1 display is only showing the correct information for 4, 5, 6, 7, and the other ones are blank. Okay? So first things first, like the easiest thing to do is just to reseat the connector on the display and then the upper left connector on the MPU board. But we also, if that doesn't fix it, we want to swap the display with a different display. Now, the way I do this, like, I normally don't go through and shotgun it like this. I'm going to redo the connectors and the headers and everything on the MPU, on the solenoid driver board, all the displays, all that stuff first before I try to diagnose anything, because most of the time it's one of those things and it fixes all these issues and I'm just chasing my tail. But if you just got one issue on your game and it's this, it's like, let's just go through the steps on what it most likely is, and then you can find it. Okay, so let's reseat those connectors and see what it's like. Okay, so this is the player 1 display right here, and when I say reseat the connector, I just mean doing this like that. And I'm doing it with the power off. And then the upper left connector on the MPU is this one. And that's the one that the data goes from here to the displays. And, you know, this is not a fix. This is mostly just a diagnostic to see if that's our issue or not. And then let's just turn it back on and see if the problem has persisted or if it went away. Okay, so I have done those steps, and it looks like that first digit is okay, so we probably definitely got a bad connection, but the data is still incorrect. So now let's just verify that it's actually the display itself and not a board issue or a main board issue. I'm going to swap player 1 and player 2 displays now. Okay, so I'm going to swap these 2 displays. It's actually very easy. There's no tools involved. You literally just undo the connectors and do this with the power off of 1 and 2, and then they just kind of slide out. So I'm going to put this one over on 1, and this one will go over here. And really, I just want to see what happens when I swap these 2. Because right now we're just diagnosing, we're trying to figure out where the problem is. Okay. Alright, so I just swapped those displays. Let's turn it on. It's got to boot up. Get the 7 flashes, and what do we got? Okay, it sure looks to me like it's swapped. So now the problem is on player 2 display. So this typically tells me that the problem is going to be on this board for the display itself. And when you have a logic issue on the display, first things first, we're going to reflow all the header pins, okay? And then we'll test it out and see if that does it. If that doesn't do it, then there's one IC on the board. So let's reflow those header pins. Okay, so I'm pretty confident this is not going to work, because as I pulled this off, someone has already reflowed the header pins. So I'm going to, I'm just going to wire brush these things and then carefully check it and make sure there's no bridged connections, like to the pin next to it or touching it anything it shouldn't. And then I'll just hit it again. Looks like they didn't do these 3, but that's probably not going to cause my issue. And then I'll test it again. And if it still persists, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change out this IC. Okay, so let's go ahead and reflow those. Okay, I don't need to reflow it. After I wire brush it like this, and what I do is I kind of clears off any of the dried flux or anything else, and it kind of shows if you got like some bad connections or anything. And this is like, it looks perfectly fine. I don't see any bad connection on here whatsoever. So I am just going to jump right into, let's just change out the IC. Now, there's only one IC on this whole board, and whenever I have a data issue, like the wrong information is being displayed, this is pretty much what the culprit is. So I'm just going to change out this chip right here. It's actually pretty easy, as long as you got like a desoldering iron and stuff. Otherwise, if you don't have any of those tools, you're most likely just buying new LED displays anyway. But let me just change that out. All right, now this is not a video on like how to solder and desolder and stuff. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm taking my desoldering gun, heating up the solder, and then sucking it off with the vacuum part of the desoldering gun. And essentially, do all these pins, make sure that I actually got it all, and then put a new socket. Or actually, I'm going to put a socket. There was no socket to start with. If there was a socket to start with, it would have been super easy. But this will do it, and then we'll get it. Then we'll try it out again. Okay, so I got all that good. So the chip's going to pop off. Now, there's only one IC on here, and you want to make sure you know which way the notch is going when you put the new one on. Now, it is screen printed on the board behind it, so when we pull off this chip, you can see that screen print right there. And this board is all super dusty and stuff, so let's kind of clean this up a little bit. But there's no traces or solder or anything on the top of this board. It's just in the bottom of the board, so really you'll get the good connection through the bottom. But I'm just going to clean this up a touch and then put a socket in. All right, whenever I'm replacing a component, I definitely want to use a socket. So that way, if it ever happens in the future, we can pull it back off again. Or if this doesn't work and I can't figure out what the board is, I can take my chip, take my chip back. So I'm just going to put this into the spot and solder it in. Okay, so I'm just going to solder in these legs here. You just kind of dry fit that socket in there. Make sure it's all poking through on the bottom side. Nothing's bridged as you do it, like any pads got lifted or anything like that. It's real easy to lift these pads because they're not through hole pads. They're just on the one side. But let me finish this up and take a look at it. Okay, so I'm done. And then you just want to check it over like with the magnifying glass and make sure that nothing's touching each other. And then before I put that in there, I actually just kind of blasted the whole board with contact cleaner to get some of that dust off. And now I'm going to put in a new chip right here, and then we'll plug it in and see if that was it. All right, and here's the new chip that I'm going to put in the board. That is the correct one, and we'll put it in here. The legs are kind of splayed out on the new one, so it's a little bit tricky the first time you put it in. But once you get it in there, it'll sit nicely, and you could take it back out again if you needed to. Okay, I put the new chip in, so this double check that none of the legs are hanging out, like popped outside of the socket. And now let's plug this in, see what happens. Okay, so here's our one we just fixed. Stick it in here. I actually don't know if this is going to work or not, but this is exactly how I would fix it, whether I'm recording it or not. And I would still do the resistors, assuming that this fixes it on it. But let's see what happens when we turn it on, or if we just wasted a whole bunch of time fixing a bad display. Boom! I see zeros. Okay, it looks like the right info is being put out there. And looks like they're all cycling through. Yeah, that was it. There is one other thing that it could have been too that I didn't mention, and that is if you've got like corrupt RAM or corrupt information that's being stored on your RAM chip right here, like the battery's not working right. Normally that won't screw up like one display. Usually it's like all kinds of weird stuff. But in theory that could be it as well. But I just wanted to walk you through how to diagnose, you know, one display and the different steps that I took to get it figured out. I'm Eric with District 82 Pinball in De Pere, Wisconsin.